Hello, welcome to Lily's Antidepressant Life. My goal here is to provide a safe place to discuss the struggles of depression in the hopes that we can encourage one another and lift each other up. I will start by saying I am one of those people needing encouragement today. I've had a couple of bad depression days, which really, well, it sucks. Even for me. And let me explain that statement. I am usually a very happy, bubbly, glass is half full kind of person. It's just the way I'm made. Depression used to be an unknown element to me. In fact, one of my very close friends has dubbed me the reluctant optimist because I'm always looking for the bright side of things, even in the darkest of hours. The reluctant optimist, that is an accurate description. I don't always want to be Miss Mary Sunshine, but I can't help it. But guess what? Some things completely out of my control let the storm clouds in and make the glass half empty. And right now I have several things kind of bouncing around in my universe. First, I have lupus, and I started having a flare this past weekend. The hallmark of this condition is chronic pain. I have swelling in a lot of my joints, including my jaw, which makes my face feel like I've been hit across the cheekbone, above my eye, along the jaw, and it presses down on the nerves, which causes shooting pain to spread through the side of my head. Pain is, well, it's always there, but it escalates when I eat or talk or even smile, which is kind of like everyday living, right? Thankfully, I took ibuprofen, so I'm able to smile now. To make matters worse, my go-to quick relief for stress and depression is to go walking. I love the sunlight, the fresh air, and the exercise, but when my lupus flares up, my feet hurt incredibly bad, and I have difficult walking across the room. Forget about going for a long walk around the neighborhood. So not only have I started to feel depressed, but I've also lost one of my favorite ways of dealing with that stress. Now, I hate having a lupus flare, not just because it's painful and miserable, but also because I have absolutely no control over it. I can't stop it with a magic wand. I can't even prevent it. Stress and exhaustion are my enemies. These can always cause a flare, but so can, well, nothing at all. Everything can cause it. At least nothing I can definitely pinpoint. Random things, the leaves are falling, I will have a lupus flare. You never know. Everything can be going along great and suddenly, bam, I am sidelined. Plans are canceled, I am miserable, and life gets paused. The only connection I can make for this latest flare is the fact that I've been working on my latest article for my Lily Strong blog. It's called Unveiled Narcissistic Abuse. It's an emotional subject, so it probably had my subconscious working overtime. And I have no control over how it will manifest itself. I can take good care of myself, eat right, exercise, be consistent with all my medications, and I still can't completely prevent a flare from happening. Does this sound familiar? Depression sounds like that too, right? With depression, I can take care of myself, eat right, exercise, be consistent with my medications and counseling, be intentional with self-care, and reach out to my friends to avoid self-isolation. But I still don't have control over if or when I might be overwhelmed by depression. This is, well, depressing, right? My wonderful therapist, Fresia, will be very proud of me for saying this, but I've discovered a new truth about myself. I don't like to be out of control. I bet you feel the same way. I mean, really, does anybody not want to be in control of their own life? If you're like me, you grew up being sold a bill of goods. What I mean by that is that I grew up with certain beliefs firmly instilled in my psyche that I put way too much confidence in. I believe that with hard work, you will succeed. I believe that if you treat people right, they will treat you with the same respect. I believe that good things will come to good people. Guess what? None of these things are for sure. Why? Because these are things in this world that we cannot control. Yes, hard work can pay off in many ways, but it isn't guaranteed success. I can hope that by treating people respectfully, that karma will give me a little reward back. And I always like to see good things happen to good people, but it doesn't always work this way because I can't control the uncontrollable. In a perfect world, I would be able to stop my depression from knocking on my door. Okay, shoot. In utopia, there wouldn't even be such a thing as depression. But in this broken, imperfect world, there is. And I can't stop it or have any control over it. I'm sure you've heard the saying, you can't control things in your life, but you can control your reaction. Sometimes I feel like I don't even have that tiny bit of power because depression can just flow in uninvited like water rushing down a river. But, and Vresia's going to be proud of me again, I can control some things. I'll get to that in a minute. I also wanted to mention one other thing that I've been having problems with lately, and that has been my bad dreams. Have you ever tried to prevent a nightmare? I have, and guess what? It doesn't work. Not even yoga, the magical cure for everything. That's just me being snarky about yoga being perceived as a magic cure-all. I actually love yoga, and I do it, but it doesn't prevent my nightmares, and it doesn't prevent depression. I can do everything in my power to ensure a good night's sleep and prevent my nightmares, such as have a regular bedtime, avoid caffeine, avoid screens at bedtime. I listen to calming music. I keep my bedroom cool and dark and quiet. And I even take a prescription that is supposed to help prevent nightmares. Yet, some nights I wake up standing in my doorway, one foot in front of the other, prepared to flee into the night to escape the thoughts that haunt my self-consciousness. Other nights I wake up to a pounding heartbeat, drenched in sweat. What I wouldn't give to be able to control that. But what my brain processes during my sleep is completely out of my control, which is obviously something that I hate. If I had my way, I'd get 8 hours of sleep every night and blissfully sleep through the night. But it's out of my control. I want to switch gears here for a minute, and sorry if I'm a little all over the place today. That kind of goes along with being in a funk. Instead of discussing what is out of control, I want to talk about the things that are in my control. I'm sure everybody has heard the term grounding. I had heard it, but I guess, I know, I didn't really understand it. Now this is what grounding means to me. When I am knocked off my feet by the landslide of depression and out of control emotions, I feel untethered, like an astronaut, just, floating aimlessly in space. It reminds me of a time when I was a child, when I was playing in the ocean, and a big wave knocked me off my feet and tossed me around underwater. It probably lasted for a few seconds, but to me it felt like a lifetime. I was disoriented. I didn't know which way was up. I was out of control. I was terrified. Then my brother grabbed my hand and pulled me up. My feet hit the ground, my vision was cleared, and I stood up, king of the world once again. I remember looking back at the shore and seeing the remnants of the wave that had uprooted me, and I was so surprised to see how small and harmless it suddenly looked. It didn't even have the power to knock over a seagull that was waiting along the shoreline. Yet just seconds ago, it had turned my world upside down. But now I was back on the ground, no longer spinning and churning waves. The sand squished under my toes, the sky shined from above. I was reoriented once again. Do you know what word I really like? Discombobulated. It's one of those words that's fun to say and funny to hear. Discombobulated. Say it with me. Discombobulated. It means characterized by confusion or disorder. That's how I felt trapped under the waves. Discombobulated. That's how I feel when depression attacks me like a pit bull. That's how I feel when I feel like I have no control. Grounding is the opposite of discombobulated. Grounding tips my world back onto its axis. It shows me which way is up. I can suddenly see how small the waves are. I know I'm not a professional or a scientist. I can only describe how it feels to me. And grounding helps me feel like I've regained control of my ocean. It's the opposite effect of discombobulation. I'm not sure what that might be. Perhaps undiscombobulation or discombobulation. I don't know. I'm sure there's a wordsmith out there who can tell me what it is. The discombobulation helps me return to my usual reluctant optimist self. My therapist and I have gone through many different grounding techniques to find the ones that work best for me. Everyone is different. I have the propensity to become overwhelmed with panic attacks, so my grounding technique needs to be one that I can summon quickly, anywhere, at any time. I can't wait till I get home to look at a specific framed picture or to call a specific friend who might possibly be busy. I need to be able to pull over to the side of the road while driving and be able to begin grounding in an instant. What has worked best for me is a sensory technique. It is a 5 senses technique that is super helpful by tuning into each of our 5 senses. To do so, you would just stop what you're doing and acknowledge 5 things around you that you can see, 4 things around you that you can touch, 3 things around you that you can hear, 2 things around you that you can smell, and 1 thing to taste. With guidance from my therapist, I discovered that worked best for me boils down to having one little thing always in my purse, a pack of peppermint gum. As long as it is always with me, I can rely on it instantly. I can pull out the pack of gum and inhale. The smell of peppermint is very powerful for me. It helps pull me out of whatever rabbit hole my brain is hurtling towards and brings me back to the here and now. Usually just smelling the gum is enough for me, but also holding the plastic wrap package in my hand, that kind of crinkles, so that's utilizing my sense of touch. And I can also start chewing a piece of the gum to activate my sense of taste. But usually just the sense of smell is enough to ground me. Except today I realized that I had run out of gum, so I didn't know what to do. Reframing time. I can't control my triggered depression. At this particular moment, I can't control the fact that I'm out of the supply that I need, the peppermint gum. What can I control? So much. I can control how I react to the uncontrollable. Instead of curling up into a puddle of depression and crying on my bed, which I have done plenty of times, I decided to brainstorm another way to ground. I know that my sense of smell is my biggest soothing trigger. I know peppermint is my best scent. I also know that I have peppermint tea in my kitchen cabinet. So I brewed up a cup of hot peppermint tea. Smelled the uplifting aroma of the tantalizing mint. I could feel the warmth rising out of the cup. And I have to admit that I'm extraordinarily proud of myself for this one. It wasn't too long ago that I would have just fallen into a deeper depression, criticizing myself for my lack of preparedness and stupidity. Now I know that those thoughts aren't good. They are counterproductive. They're damaging. The fact is, there are things in this world I will never be able to control. I will never completely control my lupus, my depression, or my body's response to stress. But I can control how I reframe my thoughts. The reluctant optimist rides again. I'm sure everyone has heard of the technique of finding your happy place. Again, I didn't really know how to utilize that to help myself get grounded during extreme periods of distress. Do you want to know the secret? Practice. It's something worth practicing. Fresia helped guide me through my happy place during several sessions where she'd have me visualize a place that makes me feel peaceful, calm. She'd ask me questions about the scene. What did it look like, sound like, feel like? My happy place is the beach. So to use this, I practiced several times, imagining a very real place on the beach. I imagine sitting on this one really big, rough rock that sits right where the waves roll in. When I do this, I can hear the waves crashing along with the soft caws of the seagulls in the distance. I can smell the salt air blowing in the sea breeze, and the warmth of the summer sun caresses my cheek. It's not just a picture in my mind. I can feel it. My happy place comes alive for me, and it soothes me. It's incredibly powerful. But that powerful tool took work. I had to practice it many times before I had the ability to summon that sunny scene on the days that are darkened by the storms of depression. Practice, practice, practice. So even though there are things beyond my control, I do have control over certain elements in my life. I can practice a guided meditation, so I'll have the visualization handy when I need it. I can have my peppermint gum / candy / tea / candle nearby so I can quickly activate my senses for a calming effect. And one of the most important things I can control is my understanding of what control is. Why do I feel this pressure to be able to control things? It's like my wayward beliefs about hard work equaling success. Having control won't make me successful, happier, or more content. That's a false myth. After all, the ocean is uncontrollable, yet it is powerful, majestic, and beautiful. Reframing time. My lupus is out of control, yet it has forced me to veer onto new paths. I can't work as a teacher anymore. It's too hard on my body. So now I write and I touch other people's lives. I think that is a pretty beautiful, although unexpected turn of events for me. My depression is not always under my control, yet in the past it has actually led to powerful, majestic, and beautiful things. My depression empowered me to leave an abusive situation. I really don't enjoy having nightmares, but when I do, I wake up resolved to live more intentionally each day. It's not a bad thing. At the beginning of my talk today, I said the word but a couple of times. I can take care of myself, eat right, exercise, be consistent with medications and counseling, be intentional with self-care, and reach out to friends to avoid self-isolation, but I still don't have control over if or when I might be overwhelmed by depression. I'm going to go back and change that but into an and. Sometimes I can do everything in my power to avoid depression, and I sometimes still get depressed. It's not a failure on my part. It's not a weakness or inability or lack of effort. It's beyond my control, and I need to accept that. Both of those statements are very true. I also said, sometimes I feel like I don't even have that tiny bit of power because depression can flow in uninvited like water rushing down a river. But I can control some things. Reframing time again. Sometimes I feel powerless. And some things I can control. These are not mutually exclusive statements. They are not cause and effect. I need to stop beating myself up because I can't control the uncontrollable. I need to accept that sometimes I'm going to feel discombobulated. Let me share one last thing that I've learned from the incredible Freshia, my little angel in Reeboks. When I was complaining about how stupid I had been to not recognize the fact that I was being abused for many years, which is a very long story. But Freshia gave me a piece of paper and a pen and told me to write 4 words across it, big, like a sign. I didn't do this. 4 words. I needed to stop blaming myself for the abuse my abuser perpetrated against me. I needed to stop blaming myself for being a victim. I needed to stop blaming myself for feeling sad, which was a very human emotion. I needed to stop blaming myself for not being in control. I want to encourage you to write these words down somewhere where you can see it on those days that you feel depression is swallowing you up despite your best intentions. I didn't do this. It's not your fault. We all get discombobulated. And we aren't alone. You aren't alone. Remember, if you ever feel like you need help, you can call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's just 3 numbers, 988. My article, Unveiled Narcissistic Abuse, Never Again, Not Me, will be live on my blog Friday, January 20th at lilystrong.com. That's Lily with 3 L's, Lilly, and then Strong, Strong. And since I'm feeling down today, I'm going to end with 2 terrible jokes because we all need to laugh more, right? and they're both ocean related. Okay, so what did the ocean say to the shore? Nothing, it just waved. And what does a dolphin say when he's confused? Can you please be more Pacific? I know, terrible jokes, but I hope maybe you giggled just a little bit. Hey, drop me a comment and let me know what your go-to grounding technique is. I'd love to hear your suggestions. Until next time, I hope you guys keep your chins up. I hope you do not get discombobulated. And I hope you guys have a great week.